Hi everyone, good day to all of you. I am Kiara Kalma, and for today we will be discussing about the language of research. But before we start, let us have first the intended learning outcomes.
So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to increase the number of English words you know, communicate worldviews using newly learned words, describe the language of research, state the reasons behind research language formation, explain the meaning of operational definition, distinguish an operational definition from other types of definition, compare and contrast operational and theoretical definition, and lastly, give an operational definition of a term based on the guidelines they learned about defining terms operationally.
So now, let us start our discussion. So research is like a detective's journey into the unknown, where we seek to uncover the hidden truths about the world. But just like detectives use a specific language to communicate, researchers have their own unique language too. And that is what you will learn in this lesson, the language of research. So the language of research is a fundamental aspect of the scientific pursuit, serving as the bridge between ideas and understanding. So it is a set of conventions and practices that enable researchers to effectively communicate their work, ensure its quality, and contribute to the cumulative body of knowledge in their respective fields. So in this lesson, we will embark on an adventure to understand the language of research, and we will explore its significance, its key components, and its pivotal role in effective communication within the academic and scientific communities. So for you to understand clearly our lesson for today, here is a graphic organizer that shows the key components of the language of research. First, let us have the characteristics of the language of research. So research is searching for truth in a systematic way or in a scientific method. So doing things in this manner means going into the world of science that deals mostly with facts, principles, theories, generalizations, and methods. So existing within the bounds of science that is quite different from other subjects because of its inclination to special and abstract terms, research is likewise pregnant with extraordinary terms because this has a language of its own. So it has its own organized system of language structures that you, as a researcher, use to communicate with your fellow researcher and with readers eager to know the findings of your research. Endowed with special knowledge, meaning ideas that are applicable to particular purpose, you possess a certain expertise that only people belonging in your area of specialization find understandable and easy to relate themselves with. So your expertise and special knowledge in research causes you to use words, phrases, and other language structures whose meanings and uses are familiar with or common only to those engaged in research. And for those non-researchers, unless they purposely read books on research, the language of research appears as a jargon. So what is a jargon? So jargons are terms considered as technical because these are only used by people belonging in the same field of specialization. So exclusively used by specific set of persons like engineers, doctors, lawyers, architects, and businessmen, these terms do not sound familiar or understandable to ordinary persons in society. Next, we have here the research language formation. So the specialized forms of the language of research are caused by the following factors. So the first one is the multi-syllable words. Some terms reflecting on the inherent characteristics of research as a scientific method are made up of number of syllables such as the following.
Theoretical. This means it is based more on concepts. Empirical. This means observable. Probabilistic. This means uncertain. Quantitative means numerical. Qualitative, opinionated. Scientific also means systematic, and inquiry means investigation.
So next we have is the types and forms of questions. So research has its own types of questions. It has to ask questions that describe, show relationships, and give reasons behind the occurrence of something. For instance, for a qualitative research, questions to be asked must elicit views, emotions, or opinions of people. Quantitative research, on the other hand, asks questions about the exact numbers, percentages, or frequency of things. Informative questions rather than yes or no questions are the appropriate questions to ask in research. Next, we have the span of time covered by the research. So owing in the length of time, months or years, that takes place in a study, research introduced the terms cross-sectional and longitudinal study. So cross-sectional study involves a one-time collection of data in a span of time, while in longitudinal study, it is a repeated collection of data for the purpose of finding out changes of patterns over time. Now, let's have the variable relationships. Concerning itself with whether or not a variable has effects on another variable based on cause-effect relationships and on a certain pattern that may result in positive or negative relationship, research came out with the following terms for variables. The independent variables are the cause of something. The dependent variable bears the effect of the independent variable. Extraneous variable is an extra or unexpected variable cropping up outside the research design. And confounding variable, it is an unstable variable.
So here is an example of a research title that incorporates all four variables.
Next, we have the formulation of hypothesis. Forming of hypothesis indicates the staging of a research. It signals the occurrence of a scientific or investigative way of doing things. Hence, there are these terms: null hypothesis for guessing the negative results of research and alternative hypothesis for positive results. So next is data. These are facts, information, or logically derived forms of knowledge that are called quantitative data if they are verbally and objectively expressed. Quantitative data if they are numerically and objectively expressed. And lastly, we have the unit of analysis. The subject or object of your research study makes up one major entity, and this may be either one of the following:
Individual, group, artifact. This may be paintings, books, or travelogue. Geographical unit. This refers to municipalities, provinces, and countries. Social interaction. This may be interactions between the husband and wife, teacher and learner, and employer to employee.
So those elements are what form the language of research. So moving on, let us have the two types of definitions used in research: the theoretical definition and the operational definition. Concepts, theories, principles, assumptions, and predictions, and other abstract terms are the catchwords of research. So these are cognitively coined terms that appear so complex to readers in general, especially those with zero background knowledge about research. So theoretical definition. This is an explanation based on the concepts or knowledge related to the field of discipline and widely considered as correct. So this prevents readers from immediately seeing the relationships or relevance of things involved in the research. So one way of giving a clear meaning of a concept or everything involved in the research is to define it operationally. So what is an operational definition? Operational definition is making the concept or the thing meaningful by specifying the way your research should measure such concept. It defines the basic concept through the operation used or research activity involved to measure the concept. So making the concept measurable indicates that the operational definition is a component of an empirical process that requires observation for distinguishing the concepts from other ideas, for measuring it with precision, and for knowing its meaning clearly. Defining the term based on its operation and application in the research gives other researchers the opportunity to evaluate the measurement procedure and to repeat such procedures in their own research studies. So the following examples give you an idea on how to define terms operationally.
These are the guidelines in giving operational definitions. Number 1. Have a clear understanding of the concept focused on by your study before you begin defining such concept operationally. Number 2. Base your operational definition on the concept under study. Number 3. Express the operational definition in only one sentence. Number 4. Let the operational definition explain the measurement of variables clearly. And lastly, number 5. Construct an operational definition that other researchers can understand, assess, and repeat in other research studies.
So here are some examples of operational definitions and theoretical definitions.
Let's start with the concept of temperature. Theoretical or conceptual definitions can be quite abstract, like heat flowing between infinite reservoirs. However, operational definitions ground this concept in reality. So in this case, we define temperature in relation to operations with gas thermometers. By doing this, we have a concrete way to measure and understand temperature. Moving on to electric current. Its theoretical definition involves the force between two parallel conductors. But how do we measure it? We rely on an operational definition that mentions the device, specifically a current balance to measure electric current. This definition enables us to quantitatively study and work with electricity.
So that sums up our discussion about the language of research. I hope that I have given you knowledge and that you have learned something from this lesson. Thank you and good day to all.